let's start with introduction. So a lot of you already know me, but some of you probably not. So I'm Jamil. I'm head of product here at Beetleworks, and I have been working here for almost 10 years, so 9 years and 9 months now. And the goal of this session is to go through the translation and review process with you in the editor. During the session, if you guys have any specific questions about what I'm showing, about the process, please do let me know. You can just raise your hands in the Zoom app, and I will stop and let you ask the question. So let's jump into it. So by the way, I'm recording this session, and as any other webinars that we'll be hosting, we'll be sharing, we'll be making available the session recording, so you can watch them later as well. So starting, put a presentation just so we can have an agenda that we can follow for the session. So this webinar, as I mentioned, I'm going to cover how we're going to translate and review content with our editor, BWX editor. So this is our agenda, a quick overview in the editor, translation step and review step. There are just a few differences, but I think that's worth covering both. Q&A, so if you have any additional questions at the end of the presentation, and then I will just show you the next webinar that will be hosting and next steps. And the link, I will put the link for the session recording here, and it will also be available on our website. I'm going to show you in a minute the website where you can watch the session recordings. All right, so starting with that, if you are interested in joining our future webinars, you can access this page in here, go.beetleworks.com. So you can see the next webinars that are coming. There will be more. Some of them hosted by Gabriel, some I will be hosting. And you can also access this past webinars tab where you can access the previous webinars and you can watch the session recording from here. All right, so let me close this and let's jump into the editor. So by the way, just a quick disclaimer, for the session specifically, I'm using a user with the vendor role. So if you are a platform subscriber or if you become a platform subscriber soon, hopefully, your view will be a bit different from this one, but for the sake of the session and the editor usage, there are not a lot of difference, just a few permissions difference here and there. But for the sake of the session, I'm using a vendor role so I can show exactly the difference between someone that's translating the content versus someone that's performing the second review step. Either it's a review step, an encounter review, review two, or any other step post-translation. All right, so I'm not focused too much on the details outside the editor, all right? So let's jump into it, and starting with a quick overview in here. So just what you are seeing on screen. So at the bottom, we have our preview. So this previewing the current file that I'm looking into, this XML file. We have preview for Word documents. We have a web preview where you can type the website in here and preview the content. You can also video preview videos with subtitles, if that is part of the project that we are working on. At the top, you can see that I have joined the 3 work units, so 3 different files that I'll be working on. This is a progress bar. You can see the file that I'm working on. File size. This is the workflow step that I'm working on. There's some actions in here to confirm and then confirm multiple segments that you can select here. You also have this deliver task button at the top. So once you confirm all the segments for all the files, you can click in here to deliver the task. You can show and hide the preview. This is I'm going to cover this in a moment. The last button here is the help button at the top right. If you click in here, you can see all the keyboard shortcuts we have in our editor. I'm using a Mac, by the way. So if you are using a Windows computer, this will automatically adjust to the Windows keyboard keys. So you know which key to use for Windows as well. But those are really helpful. All right. So now talking about this real quick, comments. Here you can add comments, either private or public, for the people that will be accessing the file and subsequent workflow steps. Suggestions, this is probably where you're going to spend most of your time. This is where machine translation, translation memory, glossary suggestions will live. Instructions, if there are instructions, will be available here, or reference files as well. QA, you can run the QA checks. There are multiple QA checks in the platform. You can select them and run from here. You can also save the filters. So the ones that use the most, you can save in here, so you don't have to select again and again each time that you're using the editor, the same filters. You can just save and use the same. Search TM, you can search the TM that are available for that project. The same for the glossary. Filters, we have some filters for source and target content. You can find the replace content here as well on this screen. Translation change, you can see when a segment was changed and who made that change to that segment. Here you can play around. There are some options in terms of how you are viewing the content. This is purely preferential. I'm using light mode. I can change to night mode. I can change the font settings. And yes, that's pretty much it. So let me start going directly into the content translation. So this file, it was pre-translated. So, and on purpose, I already confirmed some segments. So you can see that they were automatically saved into the translation memory I have for this project. For the session, I'm also with machine translation activated, depending on the use case, or if you're working for a client that does not have machine translation activated, that will not be available, but for this session will be. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So first off, let's start with a segment that's not confirmed. Let's start with segment number 5. I can either go and find the segments that are not confirmed, or I can take advantage of the filters we have in here. All right, but let me take it off the filter and go to the segment manually. All right, so I have a translation proposed for this. The process, most of you know, you can either just confirm the translation that's proposed, or you can make changes to it and then confirm the segment. You can see on the right-hand side of the segment, this is the first repetition. So this means that this exact term pending will appear more than once in the file. So once you confirm the segment with this translation here, it will automatically confirm all the other repetitions as well with the exact same translation. All right. So let me click in here and confirm the segments. Okay, so automatically I was sent to the next segment that is not confirmed yet. So it automatically skipped the segments that have been previously confirmed. So I can start working on it right away. Again, for this one, I already have, I pre-translated with machine translation. I also have the translation memory suggestions available here. I'm just going to accept the segment. All right, so this one is a good example that I can use to show you our AI. So some of you may have participated on the previous session hosted by our CEO Gabriel Furman about the chat GPT and the integration with large language models, where we talked about in detail on how we implemented these AI features we have in the platform. So if you are interested, this is recorded. You can watch this in the past webinars. So I'm not going too deep into the details about it, but just show you the functionality we have. So right now I have a translation that's proposed in here. So it matches with the machine translation. And I also have a few options here in the translation memory, but the threshold is not high, so it's 58% or 53%. So what I can do here, I can manually add to this translation, or I can ask the AI to translate the content. So basically, the AI was going to take into consideration the machine translation suggestions, translation memory suggestions, glossary suggestions, if there are any, and then provide you with a suggested translation for that context. And then, of course, you can decide whether you want to use it or not. But the cool thing, especially when we have segments with glossaries, is that sometimes the glossary have been updated. So, but in the translation memory is not updated yet. So, and if you run the AI, for instance, let's say that the segment in here, it's a 99% match and the glossary term has been updated or new terms have been added to the glossary that was not previously in the glossary. So when you ask the AI to translate, it is going to adapt the current translation proposed by the translation memory and the machine translation and add the glossary terms in the right context. So then you can probably just accept the translation or make just some small change to the translation before you confirm that segment. So that's one cool thing about the AI. There are several others. And the other option we have in terms of AI in our editor is this AI review. So again, I have a source, I have a target translation. I did not confirm the segment yet. I can ask the AI a suggestion. So based on this source, what in the translation that I'm proposing, do you have any suggestions on how I can improve this translation? That's kind of the question we are asking to the AI. And then you, as a translator, you can check the suggestion. So the AI suggests to replace the current translation with this translation here. And then the AI gives you an explanation on why the AI is suggesting that. So again, you are the specialist. So the AI is just there to assist you with the translation and make sure that you're going to deliver the best translation as possible. So you can either decide not to use it or you can use it. So it's your call. So in this case, for instance, I'm going to accept the AI suggestion and I'm going to use it. But again, if I just, I don't agree with the AI, and this may happen on several instances, that's fine. You can just ignore it and keep it going and use your own translation. That's totally fine. Again, you are the specialist. Another cool thing, and this is related to the previous point, the ask AI to translate. When you click on a segment, it is going to automatically translate the segment, pre-translate with the AI. So again, you're going to use machine translation, translation memory, and glossary. So if then all are available, they're going to use then all. If not, as in this example, is going to use just the machine translation and propose the best translation as possible based on that for you. This is only for empty segments. So as you can see, some segments have been previously pre-translated with machine translation, but for empty segments, that did not have a machine, were not pre-translated with machine translation, or the translation threshold was not as expected. The AI is going to propose with a translation. I see a question here from Claudia. Hi, Jamil, what you don't want to confirm automatically all the repeated segments? Currently, it is going to be automatically confirmed. So we currently don't have any options to deactivate that, but that's a good feedback. Our support team is on the call as well. They will take notes, and we're going to discuss that internally for future improvements. All right. So any questions so far about the process, on how you translate content, how you use machine translation, how you use the AI? Nope. Okay. So I'm going to just go with some additional segments in here. And again, this one was pre-translated using the machine translation plus AI. We automatically add the tag in here, as you can see. So more, this is the process that you are used to. So we're going to translate the content, add the translations proposed by machine or AI or translation memory, or for empty segments, confirm the segments until then all are confirmed, and then you can finally mark the tasks that you are working on as delivered. Before I jump into the reviewer view, any questions about the translation view, about the editor itself, the features? Nope. Okay. So I'm going to impersonate now another user. It's similar. Again, as I mentioned, there are not a lot of differences between the translator and the reviewer, but there are a few things that I want to show you. All right. So the first thing is that if you have the vendor role, as I mentioned in the beginning, you can a task have been assigned to you, and any workflow steps after the initial workflow step, and the previous workflow step is not completed yet, you're going to see this message in here. And when the previous workflow step is expected to be completed, so you know when you can start working on that segment, on that content. And then here you can see the due date for the content as well. If I open this file while they are not completing the previous workflow step, I'm going to see the message here that is read-only. So I can't take any actions in here. So what I will do, I'm going to access the files with my user here. I'm going to confirm all the segments and then deliver the task so I can make some edits with our reviewer. So let me confirm all. By the way, just so you know, I have this button, confirm all, and the download button just because I'm a sysadmin. So as a vendor, as you saw, some options are not available. They can be activated by default, they are not. All right, I think this has been completed. At least one of them. Okay, that's fine. Let me reload this page and then. All right, so this one has been marked as complete the previous workflow step. So as a reviewer, the main difference is that whenever you make a change to a segment and try to confirm, is going to ask you to categorize that change. So how this change impacts the translation that was previously proposed. So what I made this change. It was a preferential change. The previous translation was incorrect. It was fluence. mistake, grammar, terminology. So those are the current categories we have. So that will be the main. You can also add a comment in here. So the main goal with that is to make sure that people that are working on a content for a given client will learn from the changes that are being made by the reviewers, by the in-country reviewers, by the client's internal reviewers. So the next time, along with, of course, the translation memory being updated, that person will know the preference from the reviewer. So that the main goal, again, is to share knowledge with the people that will be working on content for our clients. And that's why we prompt you to categorize the change. One thing that will be available soon in the platform, just so you know, in advance, we're going to use the AI to automatically categorize the changes. That's coming because we understand that you're going to, for a file that has a lot of changes that you have to make and that have a lot of segments, you're probably spending a lot of time making those changes and also categorize those changes. So the goal is not to give the translators more work to do. The goal with that is to learn from the previous mistakes and improve from there. But again, I think that this improvement will make a huge difference for the translators. So basically, the reviewers can make the changes, and then the AI is going to automatically categorize based on what type of change have been made, and then the reviewer can accept the suggested categorization or not. That's coming. You can also add comments. So just a test, then I can confirm the segment. So this will be available. There's another question here. Okay, Fernando. Give me just a second, Fernando, respond in 1 minute. So if you go back to your dashboard and go to this reviews, you can see all the changes that have been made to the file and how they were categorized, and along with comments as well, if there are comments, like the one that I just added. So again, that's the main goal with that, is to make sure that people that are working on a given content or for a given client, we learn from the preference and or the change that have been made by someone else, right? So you have access to these reports where you can see all the changes that have been made to the content that you delivered. And now a question from Fernanda. All right, so about spelling and punctuation. All right, so spelling, we have, let me just change the way I can see here. The spelling will be automatically displayed down below in here. If there are any spelling mistakes during the translation process, you see, let me try to find an example here. I don't really speak German. There we go. So then you can see the spelling mistakes in here. And then it suggests also how you can replace that with another term that does exist. So that is for spelling. And now for punctuation, that's part of our roadmap. We're going to add this to our filters, to our QA check. But currently the spell checker will cover specifically this grammar mistakes. More questions? All right, a question from Hugo. Okay, so more about the features that are coming. All right, so the first one, again, in my opinion, is going to make a huge difference, is the one that I just mentioned, automatic categorization of the changes. We're going to add some additional filters to the QA checks. So there are some that have been requested to us and that they will be added to our editor. What else? We're making some experiments with AI. So there are a lot of other improvements that are probably coming, AI related. We don't have, I don't have the details yet to share with you, but that we're probably going to talk more about those in the future webinars in the next few weeks. And also we'll be working, that's a work in progress. We are constantly making improvements to the UI in the editor, but that's something that we are also focusing on. So making more, even more user-friendly. Again, we have made a lot of changes, a lot of improvements in the past few weeks and months, but this is something that's always in progress and that we can always improve. So that's another focus. And I think that on top of my head, that's pretty much it. Hugo, when's question from Laurie. So Jamil, when explaining the translation memory difference, the added parts, removed parts are still switched. Any idea when that will be fixed? That's a good question, Laurie. I will ask all our support team that's on the session to look into that, and they will get back to you with an update right after the session. But thank you for sharing that. That feedback. Any other questions you guys have? Anything else that you would like to understand about the proxies? Specific questions about your use case, about your usage of the editor? Please feel free to send my way. No questions? Okay, I think that's good. Oh, there's one here. What happens when you confirm a segment and it does not show in the translation memory? So actually, it sometimes, depending on the file size and depending on the segment size as well, it may take a few seconds to display in the translation memory. But as far as I know, it is always going to be stored in the translation memory. If there are any exceptions to that, please do let us know. So our support team will look into that. If you have an example, then you can share that with them as well. That will be really helpful. But again, as far as I know, the only thing that happens sometimes, again, it depends on the file size and segment size, that is going to take a few seconds to store, to save the content in the translation memory. So then when you go back to, when you switch to another segment and go back to that one, you'll probably be there by that time. Any other questions? All right. So feel free to send other questions. I'm just going to go through a few other segments here to show you. Again, same process. I'm making some edits to the segment. For this one, let me ask the AI to suggest something. All right. So the AI suggests exactly the previous translation that was in the segments before deleted the translation. And again, the cool thing is that the AI provides us with an explanation on why that change is being proposed, more than just proposing a change. And again, you are the specialist, so you know better whether the AI suggestion is good or not. So I'm not a linguist, I'm not a specialist, so I will take the AI suggestion for the sake of the session and confirm the segment. Here, the same here, I can, for segments that are also, I mentioned that segments that are empty are going to be automatically pre-translated with the AI if the AI is activated. But you can always ask the AI to translate as well. Okay. Just one thing that I would like to add, again, not want to go too deep into the details, but there a main difference between this AI translation here and the Ask AI review. The main difference is that For the AI review, we are not giving any context to the AI. So we're basically asking the AI, okay, so this is the source, this is the current target. How can we improve this translation, right? So without any context, without glossary terms, without translation memory, we want the AI to suggest something different. We want the AI to help us to think out of the box, right? So that's the main difference. The other one here, this ask AI to translate, for that one, we're giving all the context we have to the AI. We're giving the AI glossary terms, if there are glossary terms available, translation memory, and machine translation suggestions. Okay, so just to cover that, because I think that it makes a huge difference. If you want to a second opinion in a translation, you can use this. You can also use both, of course. You can ask the AI to translate and then ask the AI to review. And as I explained, you may have different suggestions just because in one you have context, in the other one you don't have context on purpose. All right, so some questions here. GCO, hi Jamil, sometimes I have to check completed jobs, and it's very difficult to find the job that I need because they appear in chaotic order, or by due date. Will this be arranged in the future? I believe that you are talking about the home screen, right? Okay, so we made some improvements here. I'm not sure if you saw it, but we can sort by due date the tasks in here on this screen. If you are checking the deliver project, you can search by the project name. That's another filter that we added. But there are other improvements that are coming. We're going to add some filters to the deliver project as well. Originally, that was not the priority, just because the content was already completed. So we focus more on the tasks that are available for the users. But yeah, we're going to add some additional filters to this screen as well, to this tab, the deliver projects. Hope this responds to your question. Maria Johansson, there's some kind of bug when I revise my own. All right, so this a good question. I will take, Maria, I take note of your question here, and I will have our support team look into it right after the session, and they will get back to you on that. Another user, okay, GCO, another user improvement would be to see the space between words with dots in order to avoid double spacing, as this. No problem, Maria. I'm not sure if I understood. Another useful improvement would be to see the space between words with dots in order to avoid. Okay, so double spaces. So basically, just a double space check, right? I think that there will be no difference in terms of whether there are dots or not, but just having like a way to check if there are double space, that's probably going to resolve, right? There's another question. Hidden characters. We do display non-breaking spaces in here. So if there are no breaking spaces added to the file, you'll be able to see it. But if you are talking about any different kind of invisible hidden character, let me know. Oh, okay, Marius. I think that was answered. So yes, we do display that. Yes, number spaces are displayed, but if you put two blank space, then it's hard to find. Okay, so yes, I think that this, I got it. Now I got it. Okay, so yeah, that's related exactly to the question that GCO made. So this a QA check for double spaces we're probably going to address that, and that's something that's coming as well in the editor. GCO, another question, another problem with delivered jobs view is that, all right. Okay, so any other questions you guys have? Our team is looking to the chat, so suggestions they are going to analyze, and then we're going to discuss internally when they are going to be implemented. But do you guys have any specific questions about the editor, about the process, about the features? If not, I think that's pretty much it on my end. Oh, okay. Apologies, Maria. So yes, you cannot filter for double spaces yet, but I think that the filter, the QA check will allow you to identify all the segments that will have double spaces, and then you can address them as you go. Cool, thank you. Anything else, guys? Before we wrap up, another question from Laurie. When there are a lot of tags, the cursor gets lost, stuck, or disappear. Not sure if that's something anyone else is experiencing. That's the first time that I hear about that, Laurie. So if you can share some examples with our supporting, that would be really helpful. Another question for Fernanda. Is there a way to join segments? No, we don't have a way to join segments. And we had discussed that previously internally. So basically, joining segments causes more harm than good, in our opinion. It is not going to resolve the root problem, that's the segmentation. So we are focused more on making sure that the segmentation makes sense than like trying to resolve something manually, because again, if you don't focus on the root cause, that will happen again and again. So we'll be focusing on changing the way and make it always better the way that we're parsing the content editor. So there will be no need to join segment, because join segments, again, in our opinion, is more like a solution for a specific case where a segment got split and when it was not supposed to be split for some reason. Maria, when I have got larger files, then after a while it's kind of freeze. I don't know if it's program or looking Chrome. That's a good question, Maria. If this happens, and you can share with us like the URL you have in here, like with the multiple files merged with our support team, they can look into that right away. But in general, based on my experience, it's more related to the web browser that you're using. Sometimes Chrome, I don't know if you're using, you use Google Chrome, yes. So sometimes Google Chrome consumes a lot of memory in your computer. So, and then sometimes it's becoming too slow. I have to close it, restart my Google Chrome, and then you resolve the problem. But again, if you do that and that still happens, please feel free to send that to our team so they can look into that right away in the exact same scenario that you are testing that. Not really. Google Chrome is fine as long as you don't open 100 tabs. So, but anyway, as any other browser, it's always good to close and open again your browser after a while, after a few days. I don't know if you restart your computer or not sometimes, but that also helps. GCO, you'll be fine to add the function to change select word from lowercase to capital letters in memsur. Cool. Okay. Taking notes. GCO, thank you for the feedback. Laurie, what's the best way to channel to send these questions and issues to support? I'm sending the channel, the chat, apologize. So help@bwx.io. So our team will look into that and they will get it back to you. No problem. All right, we are right on time. Any final questions? All right, so I think that we cover a lot. I appreciate your time in here. So real quick before we wrap up, tomorrow there will be a webinar, how to maximize your income as a freelance translator. That may be interesting for you. So I will be sending this presentation for you today. So, and then you can go to our website from this link, or you can access go.videoworks.com to participate on the next session. If you are not a platform subscriber yet, just remember you have a 14 days free trial. You can just access our website and start your free trial anytime. All right. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Thank you for your time. It was a pleasure, and I hope to see you tomorrow and the future webinars as well. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.